what we're saying here. Oh, so my recording will continue, but I've reached some kind of file limit. Okay. Yeah, I'm in 33 minutes. Let's get rolling here. You run these miles getting used to the million things about driving that I can't mention in this thread, but I'll mention some here. The bumpy roads, the boredom. I could go on a tangent about each one of these things. We already talked about the bumpy roads. Sometimes you're just totally bored out there, out of your mind, and you've got hours to go. But you've got your music, which helps a lot, or at least helps me a lot. And perhaps you can get audiobooks are very helpful. Um, Video sites on your phone are questionable. Are they distracting? Oh, and by all means, like a must, you're gonna spend $40 on a phone holder for your van. Do not be the fucking asshole that holds a phone while they drive. You're gonna be driving down the road and you're gonna see truckers who are holding a fucking phone in their while they're operating that kind of tonnage. Beyond irresponsible. You in a van are slightly less responsible for an out of control vehicle, being that you're in this, a lot lighter van that has a reasonable amount of safety and handling. However, you better believe that at least this Ford van right here, the three of them I've driven, three different ones, all of them, the minute you look away from the road, these things fucking change lanes on you. They go, if you got a car next to you, you are going to get that. You're going to hear that horn wailed at you the minute you look away because you're going in the other lane. It's like, if it ain't the wind tossing it, the way the road is pitched just makes it. You don't realize that when you're driving down the road, you're constantly making little corrections to keep this thing. And as soon as you look away and you stop making those corrections, this thing is going on its own. And it just wants to crash into other things, everything it can crash into. Trust me on that one. Ask me how I know, right? So, the boredom, the risks of driving overnight, the deer, the things you can't see, that pothole that's in the road, the tire tread that's in the road. All you've got is your headlights. The other drivers with high beams on, tired. Getting tired is the worst thing, and sometimes you're pressed to go way overnight after you didn't realize you've been awake all day. They expected you sometimes to be sleeping all day when you were in a place where you wanted to go on a walk on a trail because you're feeling the effects of all the food you eat. You can eat way less on this job, and you'll have to suddenly change to eating way, way less, and you may even want to start watching some of those keto diet people. There's a great one, Dr. Sten Ekberg, online to explain to you about eating, what is the most healthy way to eat, and really pay attention to that, because this is coming. Your trucker belly is coming fast, especially if you eat shit on the roads. Truck foods don't have anything but shit inside of them for you to eat, and fast food is basically fucking screwing you. If you're over 25 years old, you're walking on 30 years old, fast food is the last thing you ever want to eat. Trust me on that. Even if you're hungry, it's better to just fast in life than it is to eat a fast food place, right? And if you still hooked onto their cravings that they've given you, once a month at the very most is all you'd ever want to have. Treat yourself. Maybe have a fun meal once a month. Moving on. Bad drivers. The other drivers that you feel like are not at your qualifications. The ones that annoy you, don't use their turn signals, cut you off, blame you for things that you feel like someone is blaming you. If you have any road rage issues, they're going to show up right away, and you're going to have to, you'll have a new growing experience in this job if you have any road rage issues. Misdirections. The address to these businesses is never where you need to go, and I mean never. Brokers never know the right entrance. They give you the visitor entrance where a pizza would be delivered or the employee parking lot is. It's never, ever where the trucks go. You're going to need a way to um, get the satellite view of the place you're going to and check where, see on the building where the trucks are and where that driveway is, and that's where you're going to go. And you're hoping that, my next thing is poor signage. You're hoping that there's a sign that says truck entrance. Some places, yeah, truck entrance, you get in there, it says shipping and receiving this way, especially if it's a complex where there's, you got to go deep into the mother lode there to find where you need to go. Or stop at the guard check and ask directions. Guards are going to give you, a lot of them, like, say, does the doc say anything? Oh, I don't know. I've never been there. I just was told to tell people the third door on the left, that's blue, right? You're going to go there and you're going to take that first left, and it's going to be the wrong left because they didn't realize there was another left before the left they were talking about, number one, that you would see because you're new there. You don't know anything about that place. No, nobody ever goes there, but it was the first left, right? And then you look at the doors. Every door is blue. So which blue door were they talking about? Doesn't matter. You're down the road. They're in the guard shack doing their guard shack thing. So the frustrations of that are, and you're at the end of you're like, oh, I'm here finally. And now you're just hoping to get unloaded and just get on with your day. You're tired. You're a little fatigued from the road. And now you have all this nonsense of people that want you to drive at the speed limit on their property. Make sure you have your vest on. Be a company guy, and don't let us catch you and tell your dispatcher you were speeding on our property. All these kind of rules you're trying to follow and be a good guy on their property, and and you can't even find where you're supposed to go because no one ever. There's places that'll have right on the door driver entrance, shipping and receiving, or the shipping door. This is the receiving door. Clearly signed and labeled so you can be like, okay, here, stop here. Great. After a while, you'll kind of get to just kind of be able to guess at the places that have no fucking sign whatsoever. They just think you're there to read their minds, and you must know their plan as well as all the employees. And, every door that maybe looks like it says employee entrance, right? So, you're near the docks and there's no door. You got to walk around the other side of the building. There's all kinds of cuckoo stuff that goes on that you got to kind of overcome and just maintain a relaxed, nonchalant, hey, whatever attitude, even though it's costing you minutes of your life that you would love to get back and get some sleep on, right? Hurry up and waiting for shippers brokers that said, get there as fast as you can. And you get there like, oh, your freight's going to be ready in an hour. And 2 hours later, they're stretching you out another hour. And then you're calling people about layover pay and kooky stuff. And the place is dusty and there's a smell. And just, there is a list of things that are waiting to irritate you if you mentally let them. You really need to learn to resilience and overcome on these on this job. And some people do that better than others. Some people, take it like a 90-mile-an-hour trip into a brick wall. Some people jump right over it like, hey, I don't care about none of that stuff. I can't tell what kind of person you are out there. So, forklift operators that want to smash into your van and ruin the transmission, you got to know, one good policy is to keep your van a secret. Keep your van in neutral when they load you. So that way, if someone is pushing against your van and rolls it forward, it doesn't start pushing against the transmission, which if the transmission holds up, but it wants to turn because the wheels are turning the drive shaft. It wants to pull your engine off the motor mounts, basically tearing motor mounts. It doesn't take much for that stuff to happen, especially on a Ford. Dodge, I heard, is no better, right? So, don't let my Ford hear you say that. Hear me say that. But the that can happen. I personally have gotten in the habit of making sure my car's in neutral, but neutral might roll away, right? So you jam that parking brake on. For a little extra safety, I got myself a $4.99 rubber wood chock at Harbor Freight. Awesome, right on the shelf there, super cheap, super light. Throw it in the van, right in the corner where all the little trinkets go, all the little things to help you load things, and you've got a little extra measure of protection. You got to remember to take it with you when you're done loading, and it's another one of those little expenses that add up on the road. But, so moving on, they'll, at the very least, then if they start to bang into your van, all you've got is the bumper getting compressed and the plastic that surrounds it might start getting marked up. Um, they will run their forks into your plywood and split your plywood if they're idiots, right? I had one idiot so far that, but in two different vans, I've had people jam the blades of the forklift. I mean, you have that plywood sticks up a 1/4 inch. You have to be dead nuts on there to slice into that, and that's how just bad, poorly chosen their fork kind of thing was. So you never know who's going to load your van. Are they experienced or not? On the flip side is if you stand there and go into police mode, which I do on every load, I stand there and watch because that's the way to get loaded. Rarely will I ever let someone. There's some situations where you'll like be in an office or something like that while they load you. It's very rare. Um, and I'll usually say no. I need to be there while I load or no loading, and they need to load you, so they're going to let you, watch your equipment. Some forklift operators will get a little bit miffed by that and be like, because they are professionals and they know what they're doing, and perhaps they have the type of personality where they're like, you know, who are you? I can load this van. Why would you want to police me? You just have to just be calm, be nice, explain that you get a lot of forklift, you get a lot of young kids. It's usually an older guy that might have a little bit of a look at you like, I don't need your help. Um, you can explain that, you get a lot of rambunctious people that are damaging your van. You've had some damage lately, and I say that I'm just going to be your second set of eyes. Like any good OSHA related work event, like a spotter at a gym who lifts weights. Sure, you want to lift weights alone, but it's better to have a spotter. The spotter isn't trying to belittle you. They're just there to help. So you just want to, you give off the air that you're just a second set of eyes. Shut up if you need to, which I won't shut up if they're about to whale the van. So, you're just second set of eyes, and you're there to say, like, height's good. You're the clear top and bottom, because they do have trouble seeing forward. And you can say, like, if I'm standing on the left side of them, the left side of them, I'll say, you check you lean over and check the right side. I'll let you know that the left side here is clear. And, you can just get them to, and they don't really know where your bumper is. So you can tell them, hey, you've got 6 more inches on the bumper, no problem, right? Or, okay, last inch, stop, and keep them from ramming your van. Some of their equipment has better brakes than others. Okay, the vans can be pretty delicate, and you have to drive them like you own them. This is true, especially if you have the, what I know of the Dodge Ram can be delicate. I think the Mercedes are probably the most willing to take some abuse. I think that the Fords have some advantages over the Mercedes as far as certain handling characteristics. But ride comfort, I think, is on the Mercedes side. Depends what you want, but most people are going to be able to afford, opt for the um, Transit. Some guys take a risk with a Dodge. I was willing to. I thought it was a pretty cool van, but you definitely hear that there's problems with them. You hear there's problems with the Fords, but people will usually step up to the Ford if they can't afford a Mercedes. Anyways, ramble. Um, Especially the 3.5 EcoBoost and the Ford. It's a great, powerful engine, but you can't drive it like it's a turbo Porsche. Number one, you will eat that van up. You have to pay close attention to that check engine light. If it starts coming on, you're going to need a scanner tool to find out either that little plug-in one you can buy and get an app on your phone. It's usually good enough, or spend $250 like I did on a tool that's still kind of hard to understand if you're not a mechanic, but it can give you the basics of what's going on if should that check engine light come on and what you might need to do. You need a good idea to carry some. There's certain spare parts you're going to want to carry. If you're going to put on spare parts, you're going to need tools. Luckily for me, I've been a mechanic on my own stuff most of my life, so I'm able to keep some mechanic tools from home with me here on the road. And I'm always willing to buy tools too. I think tools are a good investment in life. I'm always willing to spend money on tools. As far as like spending money on total junk or things that you just want. So that being said, you make it through your first week, getting say 2,000 miles, which is a reasonably good run for someone in their first week. That means, that's a good amount of miles that the dispatch got you with. If you successfully did all those loads, that's a pretty good hurdle that you just overcame, and it's quite a bit, on your ass. And your ability to keep awake and just do all these miles. I gotta stretch my leg out here. So 2,000 would be good. I mean, it'd be nice to get 3,500. Then you'd be pretty much, in guaranteed mode that you're making some money. But that's going to be that's like a good seasoned driver is going to, rock $3,500 and maybe try to push for more. But that's someone who's been at this a long time and got it all down pat. So let's say you're taking home about $1,800 after these 2,000 miles at 80 cents a mile, which is that's a little bit more than 70% of 2,000. But let's say you made $1,800. Okay, so you've got your $500 back for next week's rental, and you've recouped your. Let's say that cost you about $800 in gas to make that $1,800. So you've got that back, and you're left with a $500 profit. But remember, you spent about $150 of that money eating, buying groceries and little things that we talked about, wheel chocks, whatever the hell, a fan. You wanted a mirror to comb your hair. You forgot your toothbrush, your hairbrush, so groceries and showers. Do you have a gym membership that you're paying for to get showers? Are you going to Pilot and spending $12 a shower before you get your fuel card set up? And that's a pain in the butt because that's usually meant for diesel buyers of big purchases of diesel. I think if you make a phone call, you can get it set up on the amount of gas that you're going to buy. And that means that you're going to buy gas at a Pilot station that never gives you a receipt out of the pump because they're always out of tape. They've got nothing good around there to eat ever. The gas is mediocre quality at best. It's not top tier fuel at these truck stops, which is really what you want to put in your van as much as you can. Perhaps you invest in a couple $8 bottles of fuel treatment every other fill up is a good idea. It's really a great idea. However, that's another expense. So there's your $150 gone. Just, for personal expenses going down the road. So the reality is you're walking home with about $300 or $350, perhaps the same that you made in your 9-to-5 job. So, and you're feeling just as worn out from what you encountered out there on the road. But the flip side, we're always giving you pros and cons here. at least the stress was your own to overcome. It wasn't stress forced down your throat by a bunch of toxic bosses coming down on you on your production line, or when you were, out in the construction field and people were, always busting chops out there, whether you could handle it or whether you couldn't. And all the belittling and game playing that takes place in a small workshop of a small group of guys, where there's always that one person that you can't stand, and on and on. So from toxic bosses and coworkers, you don't have stress that you have to unwind from every day. At least the stress here was all stuff that you could come up with that repeats, and you can come up with ways to overcome it. So it's really just another case of pick your poison. So if you're going to be stressed and you're going to, have to live with stress coming from somewhere, no matter what job you have, it's really just a case of pick your poison, right? But maybe this poison is something you can handle more than the other poison. Other people are more people. I actually do okay being alone most of the time. People, not all people are like that. Some people can't exist without a constant being a busybody with other people. And some people get around that by always having people on the phone, always having a little group. There's a lot of expediting groups that have little phone call chats, or places where they congregate online. So there's always someone to talk to and keep their sanity. But I personally do better alone. I do my own thing in my van. I've got entertainment in my van. I've got a stupid video game that I'll play once in a while. I'm not a video game person, but I found my old Atari flashback system, and it's got one game from my childhood that I'll play once in a while. But that's not really what I do. I will make some music in my van. But that's rare, because as much spare time as I have, a lot of that spare time, I'm just too tired to do anything, and I just want to kind of sleep. Chit chat with the people that I do chit chat with, or you'll need to walk a lot on this job if you want to maintain you don't want your leg muscles to atrophy. And so and I don't walk enough. You really need to get out there and do things, but you also need to be rested. You never know when they're going to call you for this next job, and it could be suddenly overnight. And if you stayed up all day and expended all your energy, you're going to be crying when they call you for an overnight run, and you're going to go, oh no, how am I going to do this, right? Although there is always a way. Even if it comes down to stopping for an hour nap, getting an hour shut eye, and going down for another 2 hours down the road till you find the next rest area. Go in, take your half hour, go down the road, take your half hour, go down the road, and maybe you're only kind of, if you're going to lose any time, it's a small amount of time versus like just giving up and taking a 5-hour sleep and being 5 hours late or something, which is really going to hurt your ability to get trusted by people and get more work. So at the end of the day, if you feel like you can handle it, here's some good news. I'm getting to a plus here. At the end of the day, if you feel like you can handle it, you've got another $500 to try again and polish your skills. So there's a way that this $500 van investment that everybody's saying, oh my God, that sounds like way too expensive. Well, there is a way that could be somewhat viable, that you've got another $500 to try again and polish your skills if the first week was lucrative. It's a gamble, right? You are gambling this $500, but you could gamble it at a casino and definitely lose, right? You could gamble it on the lotto and definitely lose. So at least you stand a chance of at least breaking even, if not being able to go another week and do it again with some money in your pocket earned. So then you can have the long think about it and decide if you want to put some money down on a van of your own. Oh, sorry, I skipped a line. If you can get 2 months of success of money in your pocket, $350 every week, that the extra money you have, you are not buying trinkets that you saw on Facebook. You're not ordering things for back home. You are putting that money in the bank, and just sitting on it and being bored, but watching that money go up and up and up. You're not buying a new PlayStation for your van. You're not getting a ton of nonsense. So if you save that money, then you can have the long think about and decide if you want to put some money down on a van of your own. So someone had brought up that, it's not as easy as you think. These dealerships, I don't got the credit and stuff like that. Remember what we talked about earlier. You're going to be building your credit back up using credit cards properly, right? When it comes to the dealers not wanting to give you credit, that's really up to you and how much you're willing to bang down the doors at the bank and the dealership. Because remember, if one bank doesn't give you a loan, there's 50 other banks out there, and one of them down the line will probably take a risk on you, right? So, and then if you find the one willing to take the risk, but they've got a really loan shark interest rate, you go down the road and find the one that will take the risk on you and be fair with you. There's probably one out there, right? It's just really, it's up to these people not to get into the mindset of, oh, all the walls are closed, because it is a pain in the ass to go hunting for these places. So the hunter gets the dinner, and the person who kind of wanted to walk off 50 feet, say they didn't see an animal and go back to camp, is hungry. Make sense, right? So, you got to get out there and bang down doors, because when you're banging down doors, it also shows that, hey, all right, so this guy does seem a little serious about it. He's not just another Joe saying, I'd like a loan for this shit so I can, claim a bankruptcy again, and no one will get money after 2 weeks because I'm a dope that just dreams about bullshit money, doesn't know how to spend or save or be responsible. There's 8,001 of those assholes out there, and that's why you have to bang down the doors at the bank and go down the street and down the street and down the street to find the financing. And this is not only the banks, but also the dealerships. If one Ford dealership, because you're interested in a Transit, or the Dodge dealership isn't going to give you credit, they're the stiff ones, the hard ones. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. There's another Ford dealership somewhere else. They are everywhere. And one of them is going to be on the right mindset to be like, hey, yeah, here's another guy. We've got 8 of these Transits sitting around. It's near the end of the month. We got to get rid of that inventory. It's costing us a shit ton of money to sit on those fucking things. Let's get them the fuck out of here. Let's wait for the next guy to come in, says he wants one. He's going to get one, right? Because throwing a van at a customer is an advantage. You got to treat it, you got a perspective. My last sentence here, try to look at it, this perspective of sitting on a bunch of expensive inventory that they need to move. That van is a burden to them. They are waiting for someone. Maybe there's some dealership somewhere that got a couple vans and no one is out looking for them. The economy is shit right now. Not a lot of people are in the market for a new van. So there's a good chance that someone might be willing, because once they sell you the van, you're the bank's problem. If you didn't pay in full like you should have, pay 3/4 of it like you should have, you finance the whole damn thing, which you shouldn't do. But if you feel like you've got this game and you can be good at it, which is not so common, remember, but if you feel like you got this game, then you're fine. And if not, you're now the bank's problem to repossess the van and ruin your credit and give you years of problems down the road. So that being said, you might be able to get that van, or just going to the bank to try to get a smaller loan for a used van that you got to really go there. Got to learn to go there with numbers on paper, well written, legitimate, what your income is going to be, how much you can afford, how easy it's going to be for you to pay back, the the terms you can meet with plenty of margin for error. You show them that you can definitely have the $450 every month for the next 4 years to pay back this loan to get this $22,000 used van that still has baby miles on it, 80,000, 130,000 miles, right? And you know it's well maintained. You know something about this van. It's a good deal because they'll go for, typically, most fleet owners that make it, if a guy has luck with one of these vans, or even if they have to put a little chunk of money into it, 500,000 miles is what you can typically get out of these vans. Guys push them farther if you're desperate, but 500,000, you usually can get some pretty reliable miles out of one of these vans. After that, you're pushing that thing really lucky. You're going to need some big expenses down the road. So, if it's got 200,000 on it, at least you're halfway. You got half the mileage left to get to this horrible breaking point. And they rack up quick. Consider that you're 2,000 miles a week, 2, 4, 6. Every 3 weeks, you're changing the oil in these vans. That'll be out of your pocket when it's your van. And the miles add up quick. That's 4 months a year, 2, 4, 6, 8,000 miles a month. 10 months later, that's 80,000 miles. And a year goes by, you got 100,000 miles every year. You might get 5 years out of one of these vans, and it's toast. All right, so there's an hour of talking. How am I going to upload an hour of video? I don't know. Probably part 1 and part 2, because I think that the van split the video, or the phone here split the video in half, which is a real pain in the butt. So, hope you enjoyed all the rambling and all the clear talking about, the question is, should I start expediting? No. You should never do this job. No, just kidding. But, it's like I said, there's a lot to think about. It's people are coming into this business because the grass is always greener on the other side, but you've got to do your research and hear from other people what the realities are, so you have a clear idea of what you're up against, and the clear idea of what you're up against sets you up to at least come out here and have some success, which is still going to be hard because, like I said, this market is flooded and our economy is not the greatest. And before, if you want to jump in, your hottest months are probably going to be June to September. As far as okay, now everyone's running, loads are everywhere. If automobile production is up, if more commodities open up, if there's no shortage of crap, right? Sometimes shortage